I did a podcast with Vince Kelvin. That guy is hilarious. I love
Dude,
him.
he was here for ABN. Guys, you see all my ABN videos? It was so fucking crazy, bro. It was so fucking crazy, bro. Every night, it was just fucking girls everywhere.
What
You do like the porn star interviews?
Yeah, so I made a video.
What does a non-porn star do at a porn star convention?
A lot of girls come because they're either getting paid to be promo models. They pay really well, or some of the girls are like have an OnlyFans they're trying to promote. I ended up banging like 2 girls just that weren't even porn stars, that were just there and just hanging out. And it was just because the girls are so sexual when they're there. Porn stars that were just there. I mean, Alex, we're still getting the echo, man. Porn stars that were just there. Echo.
Yeah, I think it's on Marcus's end here. Is the echo gone now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's on Marcus.
Yeah, it's on Marcus's.
Okay, let's get up. Can we all get headphones? Can we all? There we go, Marcus.
All right. Well, I just muted him. But
we
Marcus,
all have headphones and a separate.
I don't actually own headphones. PWF isn't doing well since the demonetization. Things are tough. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Oh, you got demonetized?
Subscribe to my OnlyFans. Yeah, I did, but it's okay. Marcus, okay, let me unmute you.
All right, is that better?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's no echo.
Okay, we're good.
All right. First, I just want to also really quickly introduce JT to the chat. So, guys, you might have seen him or you might have not. JT is from the ABCs of Attraction. You've been on YouTube for how long? Like decades, probably?
Yeah, I've been at this for over 15 years. I was there for like the Project Hollywood days. So,
nice.
Yeah, I specialize in helping Asian guys, which is why I'm partially in the pickup, but I'm partially outside of it. So,
yeah,
I think I've seen. Have you collaborated with Mike's like Squat and Casanova?
No.
You haven't? Okay.
Is there like an Asian rivalry? It's like, yo, man.
You know, I avoid all politics. I have a policy of not talking shit about anybody. I just avoid that. Like, you know, other people might have issues in regards, like everybody gets jealous, you know, like, oh, you know, we have to fight for our clients, but like Asians, billions of people. Like I've never felt like that. So
we do have a mandatory rule that we must talk shit about Mr. Lucario during each stream. So you're just gonna have to bend for that. It's just like it's a ritual, you know. But we only do it for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Alex just doesn't like black people. That's why we do it every week.
No, I don't like. I don't know street game. I know just one person game where you cold approach girls. I don't know street game. It's different.
It's funny. I am curious to know like what JT Tran's kind of angle is. Like how is coaching just Asian guys different from coaching the regular, the rest of the guys in the space? What are the main differences you say?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've had entire boot camps where no one spoke English as their first language. So imagine, 10 Asian guys just walking up, complete foggy accent, completely like foreign. And so trying to teach a lot of verbally based game would be completely useless. So I tend to specialize in more impactful approaches, if you will, more direct style. The idea is if you look like a stereotype, talk like a stereotype, walk like a stereotype, you're going to be treated like a stereotype. So you got to go in, stick the approach, get above the fuckable line. So like when
get above the fuckable line. I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that, bro.
Credit it. And like, one of my favorite, openers, the Kamikaze, I just go up there and say, you are fucking beautiful. And very few people expect that from like a 5'5" Asian guy. Right. And then because I'm a small Asian, there's this perception.
Hey, we're live we're live right now, by the way, guys, for those of you I don't know if you told anybody that, Alex.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's been saying we're live for like 4 minutes. So
yeah. And so I can be a lot more assertive than say a 6 foot tall, like white dude.
Yeah,
right?
That's definitely true.
I can push the envelope, if you will. And it's just, with Asian guys, it encompasses both like the technical aspects, which, a lot of guys have, but also like the cultural norms that are different between Asia to America. And then just the mental aspect, right? Because a lot of Asian guys, especially in the West, don't believe that they can't even date outside their race.
Yeah.
Or
because I get a lot of guys who they say that white girls don't like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it takes a well-rounded approach, at least in my opinion, to help out my Asian brothers. But you know, it's something I really enjoy, and I consider it more of a calling, a mission statement, call to service, if you will, because like I faced racism growing up, and no offense to all the white dudes here, but like very few of you guys are going to know what it feels like to be called like a gook or a chink when you're a kid, and I can relate to my Asian peers that way, and so a lot of them come to me for that.
Where did you grow up?
I'm Mongolian, so you know I can relate.
Okay. I grew up in Dallas. You
grew up in Dallas. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I love Dallas, but I encountered quite a bit of racism there for sure.
When you were growing up, like in school or like afterwards, like when was it the worst?
Like elementary to
kids are the worst.
High school.
Once you become
all
an
the
adult,
school.
It kind of I would get that for being Russian because I was like I moved to America when I was 7, and the town was like a small town. It was all Americans there. There was like no like immigrants at all. We had one black kid at all in my high school. One black kid, just one. But yeah, there's like a lot of Russian jokes, a lot of commie jokes. But then like when I got older, all right. So JT, speaking of racism, I want to make you the avatar for like all Asians, like Koreans, Chinese, whatever, and just pose general questions.
I'll be your coach on this panel.
Yeah. So like, okay. So here's, I think it's really good to have you here because I think there's a lot of Asian guys, Indian guys who, and I would say that like the problems Asian guys struggle with are almost identical to the problem Indian guys struggle with. I'm not saying it's the same culture, but I'm saying that the issues that I've noticed with Indian and Asian clients are very similar. I guess like, and I think that also I've noticed, this is kind of my observation, is that Asian girls, like fresh off the boat Asian girls, tend to be really socially autistic and also have a lot of shame around sex. Not all of them, but just general observation. Like I remember one time I was having sex with a Filipino girl where she's literally riding my dick. And she's asking me about how I designed my website, whether I used WordPress or what was the plugin I'm using during sex, right? And I feel like Asian girls have a lot of shame and stigma around sex. Like one experience that solidified to me is I had this I guess you say quasi girlfriend, this Japanese girl, and for like in the very beginning, she would always just lay there and not move during sex. And I asked her about it. I was like, "Hey, why is that the case?" And she's like, because that's what like Asian guys are into. Because if you look like you're enjoying it too much, then they get turned off. Is there any truth to that, or was this chick like? Am I on the right track, or you would say you disagree with what I said?
I mean, probably like international Asian. Yeah, I don't know if you ever bothered to watch like Asian international porn, but there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. The dude's face and dick is always censored. I don't know why. Like they're embarrassed of their dicks, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like Japanese law, right? But in general, for sure, there is that little autistic riz, I guess that the Gen Zs call it, and a lot of conservatism. I would think that with Asian girls, especially those who are international, it is sort of easier to pick them up, especially as a white guy. Like, for those who, Mike, and everyone else back in the day, there are a lot of PUA guys that just racked up a bunch of numbers because they could sleep with essentially international Asian girls and then proclaim that they were like, gods at women. It was just like, oh no, it's just easier to pick up, foreign Asian girls because the competition isn't that fierce, to be honest.
But I would say that I generally speaking, it's not that I don't find Asian girls attractive. There's some hot ass Asian girls out there, but generally, like I don't like going for fresh off the boat Asian girls because they tend to give a lot more LMR, which is like a turn off for me. Like I like it. This is why I like Latinas because you have a good date with Latina, build sexual tension, you get back home, and she's gonna be like she's the one that's gonna pull down your pants, start sucking your dick. You do the same thing with an Asian girl, and you get back to your place, and you have to try like 10 and fucking 20 times. Have you noticed that?
It is definitely a more conservative dating and sexual culture. Like PDA, public displays of affection, aren't that common. Like I've dated Asian girls, even like Asian American, where they won't hold my hand in public. They won't kiss me in my public, but once in the car, she'll like start sucking my dick, right? Mm-hmm. So there is a difference, right, in how conservative they choose to display their sexuality. So discretion tends to play a more significant factor in Asian dating culture.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed too, like with the Asian, I've dated a few Asian girls, and when the ones that I brought back pretty quickly, like and maybe I got some like last minute resistance or whatever, they had trouble saying no. You know, they were just kind of like, okay, I'll go here, I'll do this. But they were less enthusiastic about continuing things. You know what I mean? But I sensed it was too soon for them. You know what I mean?
It's sort of like the contrast of Latina culture, right? Where like it's very Catholic based, so you would think, oh, it's very Christian, but they're more open and embracing of their sexuality, right? Mm-hmm. That's not really true of Asian. Is, you know, I won't say it's like a sin, like in the Christian sense, but it isn't as encouraged to be as sexual or sensual as they like Latin girls or like American girls, right? And so there's this idea that if you are too sexual, then there's something like bad about it. So it is something to consider with Asian girls. Although on the flip side, that's also why a lot of guys might be attracted to them, because they make quote unquote like more trad wife material.
Yeah, yeah. Or like maybe I think the stereotype is like, you know, Asian girls kind of like act more submissive, which obviously, you know, guys here would be more into. So I have a big question. What do you think are the main differences that like Asian guys struggle with and Asian women struggle with? Because I think it's a little bit, I think they get kind of a different experience when they come over here. Or am I wrong?
Well, there's definitely similarities and there's stereotypes that exist for both groups, right? And, you know, there's also less social acclimatization where you do see sort of like the autisticness of both sets of like Asian guys and Asian girls, right? So in that regard, it's very similar. Asian women, they do face the sort of fetishization of like a lot of guys, you know, watching media, like, oh, you know, she's submissive, all that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. While Asian guys get emasculated, or they get taught that they aren't deserving, or they have to, you know, they aren't deserving of dating American girls. They have to be by the race. And so it's both an internal and external kind of pressure, right? Internally, family says like only date Asian women so you can carry on your bloodline. And then externally, the Hollywood says like you can't, right? You'll never get that blonde cheerleader. Mm-hmm. So there's the inner game parts, right? And then there's like the language, whether even if you're born here or not born here, it's like you have to have the social skills, the verbal skills, and the physical part, right? Like I'm 5'5". Like the average height of like Asian Americans is not that tall, although, you know, in Asia, that's been changing, but still, you know, Asians in general, especially in America, are going to be shorter, less emotionally expressive, less physical. Like I literally had one student not too long ago where I was like, put your arm around her, put your arm around her. He said, no. So I literally like grabbed his arm, threw it over his shoulder, and he was like, no. Like he was a full-on panic attack at the thought of just touching her, right?
Wow.
So the way I have to teach my Asian guys, it has to be like well-rounded, because the way I teach Asian American men who are born here is probably going to be different from someone, let's say, born in China.
What are the differences? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I've taught like guys who were like the sons of like communist generals. Like they're legit billionaire heirs. Like they're ridiculously wealthy. They go to like UPenn or something like that. They drive the Lamborghini. And for them, they were the apex male back home, right? They were getting girls like regardless. Moved to America for school, and they're like, why doesn't anyone want me? Like to him, it doesn't make sense, right? So internally, he's got the self-esteem and the confidence, you know, granted, it's based off of money and status, right? But he believes he's deserving. He just doesn't understand American dating culture and the language barrier. Like his fashion might be very different, all that kind of stuff. And he comes from a more sort of like, you know, old school way of thinking about gender norms, right? Which doesn't really vibe with like your more Gen Z type politically correct American girl.
Yeah.
So they had to learn that, right? But then the difference with American Asian guys who were born in America is they were taught that they were, you know, inferior to white guys, that they will never get the white girl. Now, obviously not all Asian guys experience that, but it happened enough. And like,
where did they get that? Like, I can't imagine.
Oh, there's so many things, dude.
Like Asian dad is sitting there. You will never get the white girl.
No.
Right? Media, society, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know that belief exists. I'm just curious, like, where it comes from, because I legitimately don't know where it comes from. Like, I know it exists.
I mean, like the
Well,
movie.
experience, right? Like, I'm sure I know a lot of white girls that Asians just not their type, right? So I'm sure a lot of guys just face this out there in reality.
Well, but they just
Yeah.
haven't met a good one, or like you hear this. This is a subtle way people treat people. Like it's very subtle. Like probably we wouldn't see it on a regular basis, but I bet you JT or his clients like they can see it
Yeah.
pretty blatantly.
We experience in everyday life, see in the movies, or even like you'll have Asian girls say like, "I'll never, I don't want to date Asian guys," right? It's like
Mhm.
dating like their brother.
Yeah.
And so it comes from all over the place. And again, it doesn't affect every Asian guy, obviously, but it exists, and that's why I'm in demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I guess my next question would be, like, okay, one of the things that I've observed, or that big struggle for Asian guys, is that they're too meek, they're too agreeable, they're too submissive. They don't have that like assertiveness that like, for example, some white guys might have, or whatever, some black guys. How do you coach that out of them? Like, how do you change that about them?
Well, granted, I've never been a huge believer in entire like alpha beta thing. That's a very American Western construct that isn't as
Let's just say
popular.
assertive then, like assertive versus
Right, but I'm just laying down the groundwork. But having said that, in America, assertiveness, just being louder, being bigger, is extremely important, right? So, for example, one of the things I try to teach my Asian guys is like, before you even say anything, you're gonna touch her, right? I teach like a keynote term. Just go up to the girl and do it in a way that's not creepy, platonic, but you like keynote term, like on the shoulder, get her attention, direct eye contact, go direct opener. So in that way, I'm forcing them to start their game with touch, right? And then go in a more direct manner, right? So it's trying to teach them like the physical game, the verbal game, but also get used to touching, because a lot of them just won't do it, right? And so it is by making it sort of a requirement for them to learn direct game, it is the attempt to, as you were pointing out, counteract that meekness that they might have grown up with, or the sort of the fear of sexuality or any kind of thing that's physical, right? So it starts there.
I have a funny story about this. So when I was in college, I was just like kind of learning this stuff. I had no success with women early on in college. So I go on this bus, and I'm sitting there by myself because I don't really have any friends. And there's really pretty like blonde girl sits next to me, and I'm about to start talking to her. And as I'm like opening my mouth to say, "Hey, my name's Lloyd, what's up?" This like 5'4" Asian guy with spiky hair gets on the plane, and he's tanked. He's blackout drunk. And he just sees the girl, and he just like starts talking to her and just starts yapping shit. And it makes no sense to me. And this girl's like super into it. So then he basically talks to her the whole bus ride. And I'm just sitting there like all angry about this situation happening. Get off the bus.
Asian guys, man.
I get off the bus, and then we go out to the bars, right? And then the buses pick us up. This guy gets on the bus, and he's talking to some other girls. He sees the same girl again, and he's like clearly trying to avoid her. She runs after him, starts trying to talk to him, and you can just see he's like annoyed, like doesn't want to talk to her anymore. And he leaves, and she like chases him down the road. And that was my first experience where I had seen full on with my own eyes that it doesn't, like, what you look like is part of the equation. It's your attitude. Like, this guy had way more swag than I did, like by 1,000 miles, to the point where the girl that I wanted, he was annoyed by and wanted to get rid of by the end of that, because he was trying to fuck other chicks. And to me, that story still sticks in my head whenever I think about it. Like, does game exist? I think of that story, and I always tell this to guys. I just thought that was one of the most
Lloyd, don't worry.
of it.
Donald Trump is like rounding up immigrants, so hopefully they back this Asian guy and send him back to Asia, because he's gonna fuck all the white girls. There's not gonna be enough white girls for any of us. Okay, it's clear. We need to send him back to wherever the fuck he's from. And yeah, that's the only possible solution.
Yeah. I wonder what that kid's doing right now. That was such a funny night.
Probably fucking like a bunch of white girls, like. Yeah.
Well, as I always just say, as much as I would have enjoyed being born tall, dark, and handsome, I've had to settle for being short, stunning, and smooth, right? It's as you were saying, like, especially in this Gen Z era, I feel like a lot of guys have this sense of hopelessness, right? Even more so than when we were in the Project Hollywood days, where to them looks are the only thing that matters. It's only looks. If you, it's like full on black pill for a lot of these guys. That, but I've learned, there's a difference between being born good looking and learning how to look good, right? Like, this is as good as it gets, right? During COVID, I was over 200 pounds and I was still getting girls. It takes effort, right?
5'5", over 200 pounds.
Yeah, I was, but after COVID, I lost like 60 pounds. So when the other pendulum swings.
Were you like a fucking sumo wrestler during that time period or something?
I was a big guy. I was 5'5", right? And the thing is, like, the irony is like I had more time to game girls. Right now, it's like I got to meal prep, I got to go gym, I got to do cardio. It's like 3 hours out of my day that isn't spent like coaching or gaming girls. So like now, it's like
during COVID, JT had some extra time, so he got into sumo wrestling, but now he had to give up that hobby.
Yeah, I think it's insane that like a lot of guys, they come up with this hopelessness and they go to black pill and they look at all of that information. And I get it. If you're sitting behind a computer all day and that's all you see, and the only people you see online are good looking and they're only people who are doing well with women, yeah. But if you have real world experience, like that moment that I saw when I was like 18 years old on a bus, that probably wouldn't happen to a lot of those guys because they never fucking get outside. But me in my day, it was all about going out. Like, I remember it was just like, if you weren't going out like 5-6 nights a week, like you weren't putting in the work. I hear very few people talking about that. In fact, I hear the opposite. There's a trend now where people are advocating to like hustle your entire 20s and then you make money and then suddenly the women will appear out of nowhere. And then they will come to you.
They won't take advantage of you at all. They're just
exactly. It's also a very Asian attitude, right? Like go to school, study, hustle, make money, and then somehow automatically she'll appear.
She's gonna bust down your door. Oh, you hit $1 million a month, busting down the door. Fuck yeah.
And you just look around, and there's a whole bunch of busted guys sleeping with girls with like zero personality, zero money, and they're still able to like get girls. Like, you don't have to get your life together, although obviously one should, but you don't have to get your shit together to get girls.
Yeah, it was so funny because it was like the opposite when I was coming up, dude. I saw every guy who I knew was broke. They were like, just like, they didn't even dress well, and they were still banging hot chicks left and right. And so for me, what I was trying to learn, I was like, oh, how do I get this swag that they have? And then when I learned that, it was like, okay, now I'm going to build up my business after that. And then as a result, now when you have the money, you're prepared for these women to come in. Because as Michael said, these women are not dumb. They can spot a fresh guy in the market who's rich, and they can take advantage of his ass like no other. That guy has zero experience dealing with female game, which is, kind of like the opposite of male game. And so these guys are easy targets. And then you get how much are people spending on OnlyFans last year? How much are more people going to be spending on that this year? Right? It's absurd.
Well, I think a lot of it obviously has to do with COVID, right? Because Los Angeles never really recovered the nightlife. I mean, it's still active, obviously, but I would say it's only like the clubs and stuff, the places I go to, it's like only returned like 80% volume, right?
Yeah. Well, because a lot of people left Cali during the pandemic.
Right, like tables, clubs, stuff like that. I mean, I've heard though, like Mike, you can tell me if this is right. Like Vegas though is still top notch. Like Vegas and Miami.
Well, Vegas did Vegas really shut down? How much did it shut down? Oh, Michael, you're muted. I can't hear you. Hopefully it gets back soon. But one of the things that it does is it allows there is a gap. So I did a podcast today with some chick who's basically only dated NBA players and athletes, and she says she doesn't leave the house until a guy DMs her. You know what I mean? So like, and she doesn't get DM'd that much. So like, there is a gap for guys who are going to use Instagram a lot more. Oh, Michael, are you back?
Yeah, you guys hear me?
Perfect. Yeah. How was
Yo,
Vegas during COVID?
I should show you guys. Want me? I can pull up some videos of like how fucking wild it was. We threw the most insane parties during COVID. In fact, I would say probably the most insane events of my life were during COVID. It was we didn't shut down shit out here, bro. It was so wild. And then so you'd have this party at some dude's mansion, and like literally no girl would tell you no. So you'd end up with just like hundreds of girls coming to. There was one mansion at Tamayasu that my buddy Michael Evers had. Then there's one mansion that the CEO of Wish, Peter Sosluski, he had a mansion on 750 Dragon Ridge. And then there was a third house. Oh, Tucci Cash, the OnlyFans creator. She would have these fucking wild ass parties, bro. And that's all we did during COVID. The clubs were shut down.
They
and just getting
underground,
crazier.
or was it like people, like the public knew about them, or was it like
no, just only super hot girls.
Okay, gotcha. Those are the best parties.
Only got like guys who knew me or like super hot girls were allowed to come to that shit.
Yeah, those parties are better anyway. Honestly, I could totally imagine. I almost moved to Vegas during COVID, and then for some reason I ended up not doing.
Well,
it.
I dated like a dancer out there for a bit, and I stayed with her for like a week, and I was just like considering moving out there. The thing is, like, we would party like the entire 7 nights, and I would be like stumbling home at 6 a.m. and I'm like, I cannot do this. This is going to kill me. Like, I don't know how Mike does it, but like, good Lord, it was just, I still enjoy going out, especially like after COVID, you get a bit of like cabin fever, but I can't imagine living there and I was just, the desire to go out constantly would have just killed me.
Yeah. Have you been out around the world? Have you gone to like different parts of Asia? Because I've actually lived in parts of Asia for a long time. Do you travel in the nightlife there at all?
Less so much Asia, although I've done parts, did boot camp in like, Tokyo and stuff like that. Yeah. What we have is like the Latin tour and a Euro tour. Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So, it's like taking Asian guys in these places where there are less stereotypes, or even, dare I say, a positive stereotype. I remember one place in Europe, like literally these girls came up to us thinking we're like K-pop stars. And one of them, long pixie pop cut, came up to us and she's like, "Are you Filipino? Are you Filipino? Are you Filipino?" Like, she didn't even want like any Asian guy. She specifically wanted a Filipino guy.
Yeah.
So there were times like people like take.
So you guys all said yes, right?
Yeah, we had some. I was in Riga. I was like after Euro tour, so I'm just like vacationing by myself, and I was just running sort of. I wasn't approaching a lot, but I was like running sort of like quasi nightlife social circle, and I would like merge these groups of girls that had co-dispersed together, and I was able to get on their table, and this girl came up to me, and I'm the only Asian guy in this kind of Latvian Russian club. And she's like, "You look like this actor I've seen." I'm like, sure, why not? I'll go with it, right? She's like 20-year-old blonde, and like I had to like game like her bio mom and like her stepmom and those before like they would allow me to take their daughter home, right? Mm-hmm. So that's generally where I roll, like Latin America, Europe, or here in the States.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I've gone out in Thailand. I've gone out in Vietnam. Vietnam is not a great. Up north, it's really tough to find good areas to go out in. In the south, in like Saigon, you can get some good places. Cambodia.
Lloyd, is it true that like half of the girls in Asian countries don't shave their fucking vaginas?
To be honest, dude, I didn't get with a lot of like native Asian girls. I mostly hooked up with European travelers. I did a little bit, but not very much. I wasn't like do you guys know Bradicus?
Yeah.
I wasn't pulling a Bradicus and trying to, irreparably damage the gene pool of a country. I wasn't I wasn't doing that.
I heard some stories about that. That to me would be like an instant turn off if I ever like undressed a girl.
Yeah, bro. Alex, man, Japan, when you mentioned it before, it's my 2 issues, okay? No razor blades exist in that country. And the second thing is, girls, professional starfish, okay?
No razor blades exist yet. None of the guys have facial hair. How's
Yeah,
it
dude, exactly.
That's why they don't exist.
They genetically have no hair anywhere except down there, and then no razor blades exist. So, GG.
I've always been fascinated by the Japanese porn industry because I heard that if you're like Asian from America or wherever, like it's really easy to get in the Japanese porn industry, but you have to be Asian. Like there's no chance like a white guy or a black guy or whatever can get in the Japanese porn industry. I feel like if I was an Asian guy and I was struggling, I might just like fucking go to Japan for 3 months and just like fucking, or maybe it's not as easy, but there was an article that came out about that a few years ago that was talking about how basically Japanese male porn stars are begging other Asians to come to Japan because they can't handle laying down all that pipe.
Well, where would you? Where's the best place for Asian guys to go?
I read some sort of dearth of Japanese porn stars, but not really a industry, even though I guess some of our work is sort of like sex work adjacent, but it's not really something that, you know, I've investigated myself.
Where do you think is the best country for Asian guys to go if they want success with hot, very attractive women?
Probably Latin America. Like
where in Latin America? You got a specific spot? Colombia, Venezuela,
like most of
Brazil?
them. I mean, I'm not gonna take the liability of taking any students or clients to Colombia of all places, because there was like several Asian guys that were
getting too dangerous, man.
Yeah,
right?
The pickup artists there are dangerous as shit, from what I understand. They'd be kidnapping some girls.
They'd be kidnapping people.
No. There were
Wait,
several
wait,
Asian
what?
guys who were murdered down there.
Yeah, so there's this movement now so I'm Colombian. There's this movement now in Colombia to like push the gringos out because they've been coming in there and just, you know, moving people out, making the price of housing more expensive, and then taking all the hot girls for themselves. So like there's a bunch of guys there who want, very similar to, you know, push the immigrants out of the United States back into Mexico. It's the same thing that's happening in Colombia.
Yeah,
You're Colombian, Michael?
BBLs to go around in Colombia.
Yeah, this is the third week in a row we've gone over this. Yes, I'm Colombian.
I thought you were Puerto Rican. My bad.
No, I'm Colombian. Can I show you? So someone was asking about what the parties were like in Vegas during COVID. All right, so I'll show you two of these real quick. These are the parties, the mansion parties we threw that look like this right here. They were fucking madness, bro. Like, and what I'm telling you, 2, 3. There we go. That's right. We came here for a reading club and everybody got naked. What is going on? What's going on here? This is terrible. Literally, every girl we asked just showed up to these parties that we would throw. And then somebody was asking about the nightclubs. Let me see. Is it pulling up? Let's see how I do this real quick.
It's kind of frozen. Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah, there it is. Perfect. Okay. This was my birthday party during the middle of COVID in Omnia. So the nightclubs didn't even shut down. Rolling like 50 deep with girls. Clubs during the middle of COVID, dude, in Vegas. Yeah, it was fucking madness.
Bro, you're lucky that Mr. Lucario wasn't there. He would have stolen all these girls.
Yeah, well, Lucario would just tell me how ugly they are. That's basically what would happen.
You would have no chance against him and street game.
I know he would just come. He would run his street game.
Yeah, it was crazy.
At a club is lethal.
In 2020 in LA, I remember there was like nobody really going out, and I just went picking up girls in the street, and I ended up with like 9 of them back at my hotel room that night. And it was really easy to get girls to come back because there was nowhere else to go. So there was a lot of
Well, I would say, like, especially when lockdown stops and people actually started going out in LA, like the girls were aggressive. That is like the immediate thing I noticed. You know, I don't generally get approached unless I'm like peacocking or whatever. But like girls were actually approaching me. Like they had cabin fever. They were horny. So there was definitely a honeymoon period right after COVID in Los Angeles where girls were just more aggressive.
Yeah, there's a very interesting
totally agree.
statistic, what happened. So during COVID, during the pandemic, the amount of sex that men were having went up, and the amount of sex that women were having drastically went down. And if you're thinking, how's that possible? I guess it's because there was a bunch of guys having sex with like a smaller percentage of girls. Because those girls, I guess, who were going on were being kind of passed around. But anyway, so that was really interesting. So that really explained why girls were like really horny after the pandemic. Because a lot of them, like girls took the, stay at home and pandemic more seriously than men did. Like most guys didn't give a shit. But there's a lot of girls that did give a shit. Not all. There's a bunch of people that give a give a shit either. So that was an interesting thing that happened.
We have an interesting question. How
All
can
right, you guys, I got to run real quick.
Oh,
you
yeah,
later.
thanks for coming, buddy.
See you later.
All right. How can I
Take care,
improve my abundance mindset? What internal, external things should I focus on?
Anyone want to take a stab at this?
Yeah. So the abundance mindset, the first thing I look at is just gratitude, bro. So I just put out a video. It's coming out today on this concept. Like, you just don't recognize how good you have it. If you make $32,000 a year, you're in the top 1% wage earners in the entire world. Before antibiotics, syphilis had a 57% mortality rate. Half the Earth's population died before the age of 5, before the year 1850. Like, you just don't reckon. All it takes is I just look at the suffering of people in other countries have today. When you realize like half the Earth's population lives on less than $5 a day, and then if I have from that, the abundance mindset is very easy because it starts with gratitude. That's the main thing. And then the second thing is with the abundance mindset and gratitude. Like, my hands and feet work. Like, you have no idea. Like, at some point when you're dying of lung cancer, you're old, you're 85 years old, you will look back on this moment and think, God damn, I should have spent every single second doing something amazing. Guys, you want to know why I live in Vegas? Because every night I want it to count. I don't ever go out and fuck around, ever. Every night I go out is a mission, and it's an explosion. It's just fucking massive levels of fun. We take, there's content. There always has to be hot girls around. I want every single night to count. And so, like, that's it. And then with the abundance mindset, the other thing is just coming to the recognition that this is the hardest part is jealousy. So the jealousy that you have for other people is a scarcity mindset. Finding, like, not being, let's say you have a friend group of 5 other people and they're all 5 doing better than you. There's this voice in the back of your head, your little inner bitch, that wants you to talk shit about them. Seriously, like, the guy's fucking a hotter girl than you and you want to talk shit about him. If you can quell that inner bitch, that's when the abundance mindset comes up. So, like, for me, like, I consider like Brad Lee to be like a brother, right? Or someone like that. If Brad does better and makes $1 billion, I'm happy for him. I'm not jealous of the fact that he makes more money or anybody like that. I'm always happy for them. I consider Brandon Carter like a brother, right? I consider like Casey Zander is like a good friend. Those guys, I want them to do better. No matter how good they do, I'm never going to talk shit about them. I'm never going to talk about them behind their back. And that you do that, that's a really great key for an abundance mindset.
Piggybacking off of that, like, there's like science, like neuroscience, when you practice what Mike was saying about gratitude, like it does help, right? Just even whether you want to do internally or like actually say it out loud, whether it's an affirmation, just practicing that gratitude. And like, I did a video, like, called it like, make men great again. Is we do live in a generation where we as men, we are the most powerful generation of men. Like, I know that a lot of people might, kind of laugh at that because they are experiencing their own misery, but we have all the knowledge in the world at our fingertips. Anything you want to learn, you can look up, right? And it is this reframe of where you are internally. Now, that does need to match the external reality, right? Otherwise, that just becomes like delusional confidence. So in addition to reframing it in your mind, externally, if we're going to put it in terms of like dating and pickup, is when you approach, don't treat every set as if it's just binary, like win or fail, right? What I do a lot is if I approach, I can reapproach them. I will merge sets, and with the merging of sets, get more social proof, where then maybe I'll be able to parlay that into introducing those girls into a promoter's table and joining that promoter's table and talking to the hotter girls, right? And so it is this matter of, again, scarcity mindset is, instead of thinking things as just pass fail, is what more can I do, right? It isn't just like every girl is either I'm going to fuck her or not. It is, can I use this interaction, maybe if it's just purely platonic, into something that I can do more with. So you do want internal and external factors. In that way, you have a confidence that's based in like reality, but it's also aspirational and not simply just stuck in like wherever you're at.
My answer is just going to be boring. It's just going to be go out and get more positive reference experiences. The abundance mindset comes afterwards. If you go out and you hook up, I know it's hard when you have a scarcity mindset, but you can kind of just consciously push through that. If you go out and you hook up with a bunch of girls, you're going to have more and more of an abundance mindset. Eventually, you're basically your subconscious reconfigures and you have a semi-permanent abundance mindset. That's my answer.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you need to worry about. I agree that I don't think you need an abundant mindset. Like you don't need that to be successful here. I think what you have to avoid is just feeling super
Markus,
scarce
your
and feeling
audio is
like,
really crackly and cutting in and out.
motherfucker. All right, go. Next question. I'll try to fix it in a moment.
Welcome to my world. Tips on practicing kissing. I mean, just get a girl and just fuck around. Just play around with her. Like, how did I get good at kissing? I guess just practice with just girls that were willing to kiss me. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything? Does anyone have anything more to add to that one? I don't really know how to answer this one.
I mean, most sex happens in a relationship, so you can get one there. I mean, I would probably start small. If there's like a girl and you go for the kiss, I probably wouldn't like try to eat her face, even though you might be overly excited. Maybe just sort of like suck a little bit, like on the bottom lip, kind of like sucking on just a little bit of air. Don't go super enthusiastic, otherwise that may give off the signal that maybe you are unpracticed. But how you get good at sex, you need a repeat customer, right? You need someone who's decided like, okay, I want to be this guy's repeat customer. So get into a relationship and just learn not only the physical aspects of it, but what it takes to be in a relationship to, compromise and build whatever story, whatever world that the two of you have. So, practice, going back to what Alex was saying, reference to experience, and the easiest way is to be in a relationship.
When you're kissing a girl, just stop and whisper in her ear and be like, "I just finished eating ass." That's really good. that amps up their enthusiasm. How do you guys view loyalty with women? Is there a mental game knowing she's loyal to the value if I bring up stagnant or she wants better? Her loyalty kicks in herself. Okay, yeah. I think there's a problem with the premise of this question. Her loyalty kicks in for self. Okay, loyalty is a quality that some people have and some people don't have. There's some girls that will never be loyal no matter how much value you bring to the table, and there are some girls who are very loyal. Now, if you take a girl for granted, and there's issues in the relationship, especially if there's a resentment, the loyalty factor goes down, but it's largely a thing that is already there. So you want to look for girls who are loyal rather than like make a girl loyal. But if you want to, while you're dating a girl, yeah, just make sure the relationship is good. Make sure you guys are having sex. Make sure the communication is good. And the most important thing is make sure there's no resentment on her part. And that would happen, like you cheat and then she kind of forgives you, but not really. And she builds up resentment. That becomes an issue and then just becomes a vicious cycle. So that would be my answer.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about loyalty, this is like an interpersonal dynamic that's happening here. So there's going to be influences that you have and influences. By the way, is my mic okay?
Yeah, that's perfect now.
Okay, all right. So there's going to be influences on both sides. So yeah, you're going to have some girls that are going to be a little bit more loyal. And there's going to be some girls that aren't going to be loyal at all. But if you take the same girl and then implement her with two different guys, yes, if you have a lot of value and maintain it and you keep a good, healthy relationship dynamic, then chances of her cheating are going to like drop dramatically. But if you just put all this effort in to being attractive in the first like couple of weeks, and then you get into a relationship and then you turn into a fucking slob 6 months later and you just don't give a fuck, then yeah, I mean, that's going to cause a lot of girls to, leave the relationship or cheat. So there's a huge influence you're going to have, one, in picking the right girl, and then two, in displaying the behaviors that created the attraction.
Yeah, I'd say like it's well over 50% of it is just picking the right girl. That's like,
I mean, I disagree. I think it's going to really matter on the guy as well. Like, if I look at all my students that come to me and was like, oh, I was cheated on with some shit. Most of the time, if we like do a breakdown of that relationship, a lot of times it starts with the guys just having like really poor behaviors. So yeah, if the guy's awesome and then the girl cheats, then it's most likely going to be the girl. If the guy's just turns into a piece of shit and the girl cheats, then it's probably a lot to do with the guy. So yeah, I think it's just going to depend on the relationship.
I think it's probably both, right? Usually it's both. It's going to be part of the girl, like a girl who's really like, who has a lot of honor. Like if the relationship goes to shit, she would end the relationship before carrying on an affair, right? But that's like, again, that applies to guys and girls.
I think both sides can do everything right and someone still cheat. I guess you understand. I have a ton of female friends who are just, I'm sorry, I love you guys, huge fucking sluts, and they tell me everything. They are no shame about any of the stuff. And like, and they'll tell me about these stories, and it's just crazy. Like they'll like really like a guy, be like, oh man, I love him, or whatever. I need to figure out how to hide my location on my phone. Did you guys know that you can do this? By the way, here's your little cheat game. Take an iPad and go into the Find My section, and then it says use this device. So it looks like you're home all the time if she's tracking your location with your girlfriend, and you can go somewhere else, and it shows the iPad as your location. Or you can put your iPad in like some your buddy's car and just drive around, whatever. She's like asking for ways to like cheat on her boyfriend that she just and when I ask her about her boyfriend, she's like, yeah, he's great. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's perfect. He wants to marry me and have kids. And so I've seen cases where no one does anything wrong and people still want to cheat. So I just don't know. I think there may be an evolutionary adaptation just for cheating. I mean, if you ask Mack and Murphy, you'll say like something to do with the genetic variability of the Homo sapien species had to do with people cuckolding one another, and so that's why there's an evolutionary adaptation for it. But I've seen guys not fuck up at all and still get cheated on.
But don't you think it's possible that the girl might say that everything's well, but maybe it's something like the guy doesn't have strong boundaries, or like from her perspective, logically,
maybe
he thinks it's like, yeah, like he's doing everything right. But then like if you were to look at it from the guy's side, you'd be like, oh yeah, there's a few issues here.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe.
I think if Michael was to look at the guy there's probably a lot that he's doing wrong. Like the girl is probably looking at it for the stance of like, oh, he's a perfect guy because he does everything for me and he wants to be there for me and he keeps telling me how much he loves me and he wants to have kids with me. And then we look at that and we're like, damn, this needy motherfucker, right? So I think, yeah, probably the girl just doesn't know how to analyze.
I do agree with Michael that there's some percentage of girls that will cheat on you no matter what. Like you can do.
That's my point.
What do you think that percentage is though? Like how many, as a percentage, how many girls do you think are out there that
let's find out.
Met a guy like us, that if we do everything right and we're having like a great relationship here, this girl would like cheat on us?
I'd say in
think?
America, it's like 40% or something like that.
Okay, so remember a couple, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, we pulled up the data on this on promiscuity and whether or not promiscuity affects men or women more, and the variance was twice as much for women as it is for men. Now, some women are going to probably take this clip and say Michael is condoning men cheating. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, however, is when women have a high body count, the likelihood of them cheating, when men have a high body count, the likelihood of them cheating is more. But when women have a high body count, it's more of more. It's actually like twice as more. It's even more of more. And so that's the main reason why people will get into that. It's because, and the thing is, there's some people
who are picking a subgroup of people with high body counts, right? Like in generally, men cheat a little bit more than women. It's
they do, definitely do. Yeah, for sure. Like, but what I'm saying is that's why I said variance. I didn't say in total, but the variance in cheating and not cheating had more of a correlation to high body count in women than in men. Meaning like a guy who like doesn't have a high body count, but had a lot of access to to super attractive women might have cheated more if he had gotten that access, even if he didn't have a high body count before he was married. To take it's a weird example, but Andrew Huberman, I think Andrew Huberman, you know how he was apparently dating 6 women at the same time. I think it was just a situation where he was dating one girl, then he got famous, and then all these other women came around and offered him sex. Men accepting sex that is offered to them is not, I don't think has a correlation to them having a high body count. If sex is offered to a man, in general, he will take it, regardless of whether or not he's had a high body count before or after. Whereas for women, there seems to be data that shows that the variance is twice as much as it is for women than it is for men when women have more sexual partners before they're married.
Markus, I didn't realize
the stats though. The effect size of lay count that is on women in terms of cheating is like relatively low compared to other factors. So I think like you could dive into this subgroup of women with high lay counts compared to men with the high lay counts 100%. But I think like I'm just careful of the narrative for guys where we sit here and say, like, it feels a little bit disempowering and it doesn't seem to be showed in the stats that way. Like, if we look at the stats on why women cheat, a lot of the time it is from just when there's bad interpersonal relationship dynamics. Like, a lot of the time in a satisfactory relationship, the amount of women cheat when they say, I'm satisfied in this relationship is incredibly low. It's a little bit high for men, I agree. Like, men can be in a satisfying relationship. They can go to Vegas. Boys weekend, they're going to fuck. But women usually cheat. They fall in love with that guy. They're usually going to be a partner with that guy. Yeah. The chances of you just having a great relationship and then this girl turns around and cheats is actually pretty low. And I think that's a good message for guys to be able to like fix their.
Markus, I think
the data on that is also clear. I already have these memorized. So for men who cheat and men who don't cheat, they report the same level of satisfaction in a marriage. When women cheat, 83% of the time they report lower satisfaction in the marriage, which goes to Marcus's point, about 17% of the time women are going to cheat even when they're happy in a marriage. It's a small percentage. It's still like, 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7, but that's about the percentage. 17% of women reported having the same sexual satisfaction in a marriage and still cheating, whereas 83% of them said something was wrong. With men, there was no difference. Men could be super happy in a relationship and still cheat, and men who didn't cheat reported the same level of satisfaction in marriage. So, and then the other thing you were saying, about 79% of the time when a woman cheats, she falls in love with her affair partner. Something like that, which means 20% of the time she doesn't. She's just there for sex.
This is something I didn't realize until I got older, until actually like pretty recently. But I had parents who loved me a lot, and I had like, besides like bullying in school, like a really good childhood. My parents did like the absolute best, but that's actually a relatively an anomaly. Like I just having like, if I look at all my friends, most of them there's some emotional trauma in their past. One of their parents, like maybe they weren't like physically abused or anything like that, but one of their parents put them down. One of their parents told them that they would never become this or that, or they had an absentee father. That is like really, really common. And so I think that's like where it begins, is like a lot of people, men and women, just develop like emotional trauma. And that's what causes them to cheat. It's just like this just emotional trauma that they've had from years and years ago that they've never worked on. At least that's my hypothesis.
I mean, I just skipped that. I just practice like ethical polyamory. I don't expect girls to be like faithful or loyal. Like they sleep around, I sleep around.
Well, you can have a girl who's going to be faithful to you. That's not like an
I've had that where they were exclusive to me, and I would, they knew what I did, and I would sleep around. It's just like, it's not a demand that I make on women that I date or sleep with. It's just like I don't really care. Right.
Yeah, I don't think the takeaway should be to get discouraged or like, oh, I'll never find a girl. I think just the takeaway should be to like screen carefully. That's what I think the takeaway is.
And there can still be cheating that happens in polyamory, to be clear, right? Like I'm sure you have some restrictions on those relationships.
I mean, just in general, I just have like a policy is like you date whoever you want, I date whoever you want. I mean, whatever I want, and I'm fine with that. Like I've had long-term relationships where she would be exclusive to me, but even then, like I would sleep around. It's like, it's not like something I demand that she chose. Now,
I understand that. I'm saying like in a polyamorous relationship where you can say, look, you can sleep with whoever you want. I'm sure there's restrictions on that, right?
I mean, I just don't care about who they sleep with. Like I've been enough long term. Like I don't. It's not something that I'm looking for. I don't.
Well, so Marcus is saying like you would expect her not to fuck your friend, or you'd expect her to use protection when she has casual. Like there's got to be some restrictions, right?
I mean, like I've always practiced like safe sex, right?
Yeah,
it is
so that
something that I learned from an early age. So I know like there are guys.
Yeah, there's like a non-answer. What we're saying is like if the girl agrees to safe sex and then she goes and has sex without a condom, or maybe you have like agreements that like, hey, like we want to be spending this much time together, or there's like this level of commitment. Like if she just goes off and then spends all the time with like Alex and Michael and she never sees you, that would be against, I guess, the relationship balance. So like my point here is like, even in dynamics where it's like polyamorous, there's still going to be elements where the girl could lie, the girl could cheat. This is still something you got to worry about. It's not just the fact of like, oh, I just do polyamory and now like I avoid all issues with girls ever lying to me. Obviously women can still cheat, but I agree with you. It's, it's a nice relationship dynamic to have. But yeah, it just doesn't solve the issue, I guess.
I think it works for some people and it doesn't work for a lot of other people.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the rules are concerned, I mean, I think what we're defining things a little differently. For me to take a woman seriously, she's not sleeping with anyone else. Like that's just, and I'm not demanding that of her. She just needs to understand that she's just not sleeping with anyone else. I've never been in a polyamorous relationships. I've been in several polygynous relationships, meaning multiple women and me. And in those cases, I do have rules. The rules are we're only when the three of us are in the room together are we hooking up. That's just my rule. I like to do that. And for some people, they do something different. But I understand what JT's saying. I was in college. I didn't give a fuck what other girls were doing, but they also weren't my girlfriend. If someone's my girlfriend, then she kind of represents, she's someone I might be clients with. She's someone I'm going to have dinner with my employees with. If I do that, she's going to represent me, which means she can't be fucking on camera on OnlyFans and she can't be sleeping with other dudes. That's just my rule. That's just what my rules when it comes to something like this are.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between a random girl you're fucking and your girlfriend, right? And like, what you would expect from her. Yeah, I'm the same way. If it's like a random girl, I'm just fucking. I don't really care, like if she has an OnlyFans or whatever. I mean, as witnessed by the fact that I fuck plenty of OnlyFans girls. But if she's my girlfriend, then yeah, that's a different story.
I expect like much more. Marcus, is there a specific time to tease a girl in an interaction? Can flirting and teasing be used interchangeably?
Yeah, I think like teasing is a form of flirting. Obviously, like flirting is like a big just game term, I guess. But yeah, 100%. Like if you're talking about like Asian dynamics a little bit earlier, this is a big thing I encourage. Like an early challenge or teasing is like super important to break from that stereotype that you have. Personally, like I avoid touch or being too direct. I think like it's a good training ground, but it can fall into like issues later on. But yeah, like teasing is amazing. You can do it right from the start. It can literally be off your open. And if it's not, you can ask the first question and tease off the back of that. Even if something as simple as like, whatever, like, where are you from? She answers, and then you tell like, no, you're not. There's no way you're from there. It's very simple, but it's at least going to get her a little bit engaged and realize that you don't fall into this stereotype of a very nice, agreeable guy, which is unattractive. So yeah,
I've never met a guy that was good at teasing girls that wasn't good at game. Like it's very much a
good point.
If you can master teasing, like you're going to be like ahead of the game in a lot of ways.
But yeah. And also speaking of like going back to the whole Asian thing, is that like I feel like that's also Indian and Asian guys. They don't tease girls nearly as much as like white or black people would naturally, or Latinos even. Latinos tease a lot. But like
yeah, I mean it's sort of like the standard of humor. If they are coming from Korea or China, teasing is less a form of humor, right? And it's more, I guess, not funny and as funny as Americans would find it. Here, whether you're English and they call it what, taking the piss out of someone, or just bantering, or what's the new term? The flirt to roast ratio, as the Gen Zs call it, right? And here in the West, it's definitely important as a form of attraction building. But you go to
no,
Korea,
I think the term for it is emotional abuse. I think that's what Gen Z people call it now.
yeah, everything needs a mental wellness day, right?
Yes, mental wellness day.
But in Asia, like teasing isn't that common because it's not that general form of humor. So that's why whether you're South Asia or East Asia coming over here, they're not used to it, right? Because it for teasing it's more like almost like hurtful in a way, because they don't take it as teasing. They take it as like, you're just making fun of me, right? It's like the entire Asian parents thing. It's like, Asian parents just like criticizing us constantly, and we start to internalize that. But this is where I tell Asian guys, like, just start learning American humor. Start learning, like, watching American TV shows. And it's a very common form of humor. It's bigger, take the piss out of each other, all that, where it's like playful insults. But it takes a little bit for them to get used to it.
Mm-hmm. How do I keep girls that I banged in my social circle that tend to fall off? Michael, what do you think?
Bro, okay. There's a couple things that might be happening here. One, sex just might be bad. They're just not having a fulfilling sexual experience with you, which is causing some awkwardness when they see you again. That's one issue. And I can't tell from your question whether or not that's an issue. Okay. The second reason is you're making it a thing when it's not a thing. If you guys watch my show Access Vegas that I do every other Thursday, the live stream, several of the girls that are on the show I've already slept with, and you will never ever be able to tell which ones they are, because I treat them all exactly the same. And so because of that, they feel super comfortable. And because I treat them the same whenever we're back in social situations, I'm the guy who doesn't count. That's how you're able to sleep with girls in your social circle and not have them fall off. You absolutely don't treat, now in like privately, you can have messages, but when I see a girl that I literally had a girl I slept with on the last episode, and I'm like making jokes with her, and I'm asking her, like, so what are the type of guys that you date? And having just had sex with her, I'm asking the question. The audience cannot tell. And so from her standpoint, there's no embarrassment on her standpoint. She's like, she feels super comfortable. She's like, if I want good sex and to not be judged, I know I can see Michael and he's not going to snitch, because he's not going to go snitch to his boys about it, because having sex with attractive women is not uncommon. So if you can do that and just make sure you don't tell anybody about it, it's just between you and her. It's your little secret. And when you see her again, it's high fives, one arm hugs, what up, bro? And you do it like that, she'll stay in your social circle. When you make it weird in public and give anyone any indication that anyone else in the social circle that you fuck that girl. Now, hold on. If she brags about fucking you, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. But you cannot talk about you fucking a girl in the social circle to anyone in the social circle. If you continue to do that, then you start to get this reputation as the dude who can keep his fucking mouth shut, which is a high status thing. Men who snitch are low status. So you do that over a regular basis, you become the man in the social circle who doesn't count. And then you'll notice you'll start getting where you at texts in the late at night, where you at, I'm coming over. You'll get those because she knows I will have good sex and not be judged by dealing with this guy. I'm guessing that's probably what happened to you.
I would say that there's not like I think it's largely, there's not a huge difference between maintaining girls from social circle as there is from cold approach or from online dating. I think just a lot of the same principles apply. Being good in bed helps massively. I think that also having some kind of a connection with a girl is going to help a long way. So if like after I have sex with a girl, if I want to like see her again, I'll probably just cuddle with her a bit, shoot the shit. Maybe share some funny
I'm reading
story,
these comments. These are hilarious.
share some story. And yeah, I'll just have her hang out for like after sex versus if it's a girl that like I don't really care about seeing again, then I'll just like kind of like within 10 minutes, 20 minutes start hinting at the fact that I have to be like,
Guys,
so
there's actually someone in the comments who said, she'll tell other girls once you don't take her seriously that no one will want to talk to you anymore. It's like please let everyone know you're a fucking virgin, dude. What the fuck is this, dude? This is fucking hilarious. You have to take them serious. Bro, did you guys know this? When you have sex with a girl, you must take her seriously afterwards.
Wait, let me finish my
fucking hilarious.
All right,
go ahead.
Oh, actually, that was basically. But yeah, so like just being good in bed, being able to have a connection. If the girl sleeps over, because I think this typically makes things more solid. So I never really saw like a big difference. I actually find that the few times I've had hooked up with girls from social circle, I found them to be more solid, like more likely to stay around than girls I've got from either cold approach or especially or online.
But if you don't take them seriously, like Drake says, then nobody will want to talk to you in the social circle because you didn't take them seriously.
Damn, dude, you've been like fighting with this one dude for a while now.
Let it go. It's just funny. I feel like sometimes, okay, maybe I'm having a logical conversation with somebody, and then I realize, oh, this guy's like never even been with a girl before. Like, and then when he says stuff like that, it's pretty funny. Oh, well, there was a question that somebody asked.
Sorry, I'll just add on that. Yeah, that frame is like super important. So as Michael said, like I am one to like I don't care if all the girls know. They usually know who I'm fucking. I don't really give a shit. But it needs to be under a casual frame. That's like the most important thing. So like Drake's point, yeah, if you're acting like this is serious and the girl thinks it's serious, then the minute it's not, you're fucked. So the key here is if you're gonna act serious and act serious the whole time, you're with that one girl now, you're getting married, you're having kids, you can't fuck anyone else in that social circle. That's the way you want to play it. Go for it, but it's usually never gonna work. The better way here is just make sure it's clear this is casual and that's all it is. So now when the girl gets to the point when she's like, well, I'm worried what other people think, or like, is he going to sleep with anyone else? Or like, I want to take this a little bit more. That's never going to happen. If it's very casual from the very start and she knows you're fucking other girls around there, then there's not going to be an issue. There's not going to be a fall off. If anything, you're going to be fucking your friends and she's going to be like more into you. So it's all about that casual frame if we're talking about like social circle.
Nationwide, what % of first date do you guys think end with hooking up? I feel PA community pushes close first night by IRL. It's far less common. Not a lot.
I actually looked up that stat. I mean, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'll do it
but
right now.
First dates are more common than like the one night stand, right? Like one night stands happen, but they aren't the bread and butter.
Well, what's the difference between a one night stand and closing on the first date?
I think. I would say like first date is you've already met her.
Are you saying same? Right? Are you saying same night lay versus first date? Is that what you're saying?
I think first
He's
date.
saying first dates. I assume he's already met her.
But
right?
not if it's online. If it's online, then it's first time they met. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's that clarification. I mean, like my answer would be like it doesn't matter what the average is because you don't want to be like the average guy. The average. Do you want to be a woman that's 170 pounds? Do you want to be like the average guy that like just has a whole host of issues? Like it doesn't matter. I think that you can close a lot of girls in the first night if you do a lot of things correctly. So I just think that's
I think at the crux of this question is should he specialize in like one night stand straight from the club versus the more controllable first date. Right.
Oh, I think
you
that's
have
a different question.
Then that is much more higher probability.
No,
at least that's how I'm reading the question.
Yeah,
no,
all
I'm reading
this guy's asking is when you meet up a girl that first time, or you're with her the first time, should you be pushing for sex early on? Because it seems like a lot of the population doesn't do that. They tend to wait. So why as PUAs are we always saying like close that first night? Doesn't seem that important because no one else is doing it. I think that's what he's kind of asking here. And I agree with Alex. Like the worst thing you can do, and I hear this, we've heard this in debates recently as well. The worst thing you can do is look out to the other guys and say, what are they doing? I'll try to replicate that. If anything, you should be looking out to the group of guys and saying, how can I do the opposite of what they're doing? Like that's a better heuristic to go by. And I mean, there's so many benefits of if you're able to have sex on the first night without like pushing and being super creepy, you should do it. And there's a lot of advantages there. We just spoke about the casual frame. Alex just spoke about good sex and that leading to better retention. There's so much that can be gained from having sex early. So if you're able to learn the skills to be able to like manifest that and do that, you should. But yeah, I agree. It's probably, I just looked up on ChatGPT, the amount of people that have had sex on the first night, so like just ever before in their life, is like 34%. I don't know if Michael has any other stats here.
Yeah, there's two surveys here. There's that one, and yeah, guys, really, I keep telling you guys, try Perplexity because it'll scrape the whole internet. Let me pull it up here real quick, share screen, and here we go. You see my screen? So
1 second. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So on average, the likelihood of sex occurring on the first date varies significantly depending on the context and survey data. So one of the results was the one that Marcus just said. Survey suggests approximately between 35 and 49% of people have had sex on a first date at some point in their lives, with men generally being more open to it than women. However, that does not mean that such encounters happen consistently across all first dates. I'd probably say it's probably a third of all first dates. That would probably be my answer, but I don't know. It's impossible to.
Yeah, but I agree with Marcus. I think the problem is with the question in of itself, because it just, you don't want to be like the average person. Like,
yeah, of course,
you would never apply this to anything else. Like, well, like if you're like trying to like train for like to be a basketball player, well, I want to be like the average high school basketball player. You know, like I'm not gonna watch like professional NBA. I'm gonna watch like a bunch of teenagers like fucking playing pickup basketball because I want to be like the average. Like you wouldn't apply this with business. I want to be like the average business, which fails. Right? Like you wouldn't apply this with anything else.
So why would it be a good idea to apply this when it comes to dating? Like you want to be like the outliers,
like the guys who are doing really well, not like the average dude who's like fucking struggling and jerking off to OnlyFans.
I don't know if I read this question in the comments. It kind of has to do with this. Is like, should they push it for the first date? But definitely because it is more controllable. Like the probabilities are higher. You have her out, so the conditions are so right, so that you should definitely, if not for like sex, you should definitely go through like the flow where there is, whether you want to do like an emotional connection, physical escalation, what have you, it should move along to some whatever natural ending point, because the first date is probably going to be your highest probability play, because there are more factors that you can control for, as opposed to you trying to do like some club bathroom pool, right? So yeah, I mean, go for it on the first date.
Yeah, I would say also that if you have sex with a girl on the first date, your likelihood of seeing her again significantly goes up, number one. And number two, is that if you don't make a move, it doesn't necessarily have to be sex, but if you don't make any kind of move on the first date, if you play it like super safe, a lot of girls will lose respect for you. Like it just is what it is. I will die on this hill. A lot of girls will just lose respect for you, especially if they can sense, and girls can sense this pretty well, that you actually want sex, but you just pussied out or you played it safe. It's instant respect killer. I'd rather be the guy that like fucking came on too strong rather than the guy that was like a pussy and didn't make a move all day, every day.
100%. And the only way to learn how to do this smoothly is by having those experiences where maybe, you know, you did seem a little bit eager or like whatever it might have been. But like you need to go through some of those experiences to learn how to be really smooth and flowy and have, you know, dominance and be able to lead. So yeah, like fuck it, go for it.
When I say one more thing. One thing I would say is you're on a first date, and for whatever reason, the girl has decided she's not going to hook up with you. A girl could have bacterial vaginosis. She knows her vagina is messed up. Whatever the reason, let's say there's a legitimate reason she's attracted to you, doesn't want to have sex with you. I would take compliance as far as you can take it. I would ask for more compliance. Once you get to that breaking point, that stopping point where you're just not getting any more compliance, I yawn. Got to get up early in the morning. Call her an Uber. Calling a girl an Uber to come to your place shows a little bit too much intent. Calling an Uber for a girl to leave your place does the opposite. I would end the date as soon as you can see things aren't going any further. And I have found the next date tends to go very well because she understands to respect my time. Because I was like, okay, well, instead of what a lot of guys do is it's all night, just try to get in her pants over and over again. I'm going to do one, maybe 2 times. And then if it's not working, then we're going to end this thing very quickly. And generally the next time things work out much better. They're not going to waste your time.
Well, on that point, I just want to quickly add something that's super important there. Try to find out why instead of just push. I know so many guys, the girls like, well, not tonight. And the guys will just keep pushing. They'll try escalate. They'll pull back. They'll try escalate. Michael's point, like by the end of the night, the girl's like, this guy's so fucking needy. He doesn't know how to listen. He can't take no. And she's never going to come back to your place ever. Rather, sit the fuck back. Say, no problem. All good. Right? Chill out for a bit. And then you can just say like, I'm curious. Like, what's up though? Right? Well, what's the reason? No,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. If she just now tells you like, well, look, I don't do this on the first night because of XYZ, or I got something in the morning. Cool, great. Now, if she's on a period or she's got like some fucking STI or some shit, it might require a little bit more, sometimes some anti-framing. Like sometimes I'll just tell the girl, like if I've got value and I know she's into me, I'll just turn around and be like, look, if you're just playing games or you're not into me, it's totally cool. We can just end it here. The girl's like, well, no, listen, I'm on my period, blah, blah. At least when you have the reason, you either know how to deal with it, or as Michael said, end on a high note. Now, obviously, for those that are a little bit autistic, don't say like, let's have sex. The girl says no, then yawn and tell her to fuck off. Like what Michael's saying is like, chill out for a bit, hang, and then like you want to be the one leading and ending that interaction, and it's always going to end on a better note. So yeah, great advice.
I had a buddy of mine. This wasn't a client; it was a friend of mine. He was trying to have sex with this girl. She wasn't into it for a while, and he talked to her friend, her roommate, and he thought that his game was bad or he had done something wrong. Finds out from the roommate she had a herpes flare up. So good on her, right? That like sometimes, guys, I know it's hard to believe. Sometimes there are legitimate reasons why girls aren't going to have sex with you, and it doesn't have anything to do with game or attraction. Sometimes there's other reasons. So don't take every time a girl rejects you as this whore, like mode 1. This whore would have had sex with some other guy in a bathroom in 5 seconds. Why isn't she having sex with me? That's because I'm not going to waste just yawn. Hey, I got to get up in the morning. Hey, let me call you an Uber. Cool. While you're calling an Uber, you might actually want to be texting another girl, whatever you want to do. And the next day, I generally post something really fucking exciting on my IG and watch her watch every single one of my stories. That's generally what I would do in those situations. And then the next time, no time wasted. Generally, no time wasted. She understands that your time is valuable and that when she comes over, she's either going to hook up with you or not, but it's going to be very quick.
How do you deal with anxiety while being completely sober at loud bars and nightclubs? Alcohol is the only thing that curbs my anxiety. Try kava. It works really, really well.
Yeah.
It works on the same brain receptors as alcohol does on the GABA brain
What's
receptors.
it called? I think I've heard of it.
Kava.
Kava. Okay.
Yeah. It's a drink popular in the South Pacific. Yeah, it works really well. You could try also, there's things you can take like gabapentin, relatively non-addictive. Yeah, I think those are 2 good things. But I mean, the holistic way of doing it would be to just progressively decondition yourself. Condition yourself to just push through your anxiety and eventually will lower. But if you want like the quick hack, it's kava or like gabapentin or something like that.
I think one thing you can do is take control of your external environment, right? Start getting outside of your head. So one of the things I'll do is I'll start chatting up like the bouncer. Make friends with him. I'll make note what his name is, like, what is, what we talked about. If he's like, part of the sports, I'll make a note of the music, kind of like bebop to the music. I'll befriend the bartender. I'll start acting on the environment itself, taking some sort of action such that it gets me outside of my mind and not having to worry about whatever, the anxiety that might pop up. And so you're more externally focused.
What are some good ways to measure your game when it comes to women? Should it be to wear under average clothes, offer mediocre dates, travel place around? Okay. Again, there's a problem with this question. Why do you need to measure your game? Like, what do you get? Like, okay, I'm a level 7 out of 10 game. What do you do then for me? Like, don't wear shittier clothes than you have to. Don't do shittier dates than you want to. Like, don't make things harder for yourself. Like, I don't see any point in that. Like, it's just
remember like back in the old pickup days where everybody was like, my kung fu is better than your kung fu. It's what is the point of that, right? I think more what is your baseline of happiness? Is it to sleep with a lot of girls? Is it to have better relationships? Is it better sex? I mean, I can't define that for the person. Like maybe if you're a guy that spends a lot of money and you're unhappy about that, yeah, maybe that your baseline is okay. What can I kind of cut off where I'm not spending so much money? Okay, that's fair. That's your reward system. That's how you define it for you, right? But the question is coming from I would say not the right place.
I think this is a hilarious question. I think we should come up with ways that you should be able to test your game by fucking debilitating yourself. But where did Alex go? See you, bye. But generally speaking, if we want to talk about like how to measure your game, because I think this is important, you need to understand if you're actually improving or not. And if you're just measuring off what a lot of guys do, which is like how often I'm getting laid, that's not a very good metric unless you're getting laid a fuck ton. If you're ever measuring progress, you need to beat a measurement that actually happens quite a lot, because then it's just a lot more valid. So if you're getting laid like twice a year and then you're like, oh, this month I haven't got laid, I must be improving. Not the right metric. So rather I'd look at how many opens are you doing and like how many of those girls are responsive if you're very early on in game. It might be like how many girls are you creating attraction with? How many numbers are you getting that are leading to responses or then leading to dates? How many dates are you going on? How many of those dates are you closing? So depending on how advanced you are, you're going to look at metrics along the way there. And then you just want to see, are these improving over time? Yes or no? And how can I fix that if it's not, essentially?
I would also just for the sake of like playing devil's advocate, because I've had these situations before, especially with Asian guys, because we tend to be incredibly metric focused, and so am I as a former aerospace engineer. And I don't want to get too woo woo, but like I've had a student literally come up to me and say like, if I don't get laid 10 times this year, I'm going to commit suicide. Right. And I was like, all right, that's crazy. That's intense. Like you
I had sex 9 times and I got a blowjob.
Yeah. Well, no, the thing is, like, we helped him get laid 10 times that year.
You saved the man's life. Congratulations are here.
No. He was like, I'm still fucking miserable. It's like, I'm still fucking miserable in my life.
It sounds like he's depressed. Yeah.
Yeah. And so sometimes it is not that hard metric. Although, obviously,
it depends what we're measuring here. Like, if the question is, I want to measure my level of happiness, I'm not going to say, like, how many goals you've slept with, or like, but his question is like how to measure your game skill. That's how you measure it. Now, if you want to measure like your success with women, or you want to measure like your interpersonal dynamics, or you want to measure your happiness, there's going to be like a bunch of different metrics. If you're just measuring skill, like how am I going with women in this like framework, then those are the things I'd go off. But I agree, like whenever you're like considering getting into game, or you're looking at like why you want to do it, that's an important question to have. Like, what am I actually trying to get from this skill? That's a good thing to look at, of course.
I'll say this, like, I never understood the idea of guys who like want to make things harder for themselves than they need to be. Like, a common criticism I get when I release infield is like, oh, but you have a cute dog, that makes it easier. And yeah, it does make it easier. But so like, you should leave your dog at home when you go out. Why would I want to make things harder on myself? Like, why would I not use all the tools at my disposal? I have released infield without my dog, but like, why would I want to keep doing that besides proving a point to some people on the internet? Like, but guys like sometimes feel like they want to make things almost like they don't want to. It's not that they want to make things harder. They don't want to use all the tools at their disposal because they feel like it ruins some like purity. Like, oh, your game isn't
some
pure.
Game purity, exactly. Yeah.
Or it's like reinforces their own limiting beliefs.
Yeah, it's like super silly. Like, yeah, Alex, but not everyone can just like go out and get a dog because it's like there's not like millions of dogs that need to be rescued in the world out there. But yeah, no, I understand. Obviously, not everyone has the ability to have a dog, but there's other tools that you can like leverage at your disposal to make things easier. But the idea is like you don't want to make things harder for yourself than they need to be. And just like if you're like, that's the premise from which this comment comes from. It's like, okay, let me make things a bit harder so I can measure my skill. But it's like, just why? There's no point in doing that. You don't get any bonus points. There's nothing, no advantage to doing that at all besides making your own life harder.
There's no pickup artist, championship Lombardi trophy. Yeah.
Sorry, some of the Mode 1 guys are in the comments and they're going after Markus. That's funny. Oh my god!
This is a super chat.
Guys. It's like
it's my super fans. Okay, don't worry about it. It's we're still going back and forth.
Hey, really Markus, I know that girl brought you dinner and brought another girl home for you to fuck, but that's just because you're in her frame, bro. That's because all you do is chase women. You're a beta male. You're
more pussy for trying.
Yeah. Oh my god, bro! It's so funny listening to these dudes. Go ahead.
This is tragic. Me looking at a super chat, something that I will never get at any point in my life. Texting post hookup. Hooked up with the MILF on stat. I said that was fired today. And she hearted, said, thanks for hosting. Should I wait for her to hit me up? No. There's no reason for why you would have to wait. You can hit her up now. I don't know what you guys talked about, but probably like inside humor or whatever, referencing something you guys discussed or something that happened would be the way to go. You can say something like, "You're welcome." No, I would say something like, "It was a pleasure. We should do it again sometime soon." Or you can make some kind of inside joke or whatever. But yeah, you don't have to wait for her. If you wait for girls to take initiative, you're going to be waiting a very long time.
So you're correct, but I seed what we're going to do later on that week. And I tell her she needs to message me the next day. If I have a pretty strict rule, I will, after I have sex with a girl, I'm going to message her when she gets home. She'll let me know she got home safe. And I'm not messaging her for 24 hours. She needs to message me because I always like to I just feel like relationships work better when she's just slightly more into you than the other way around. If she doesn't, after a while, I message her, be like, hey, how is it going? And then depending on her response, I'll ask her out again. But I'm just not interested in women who aren't interested. So I'm going to gauge that. If she continues to act like she's giving me mid-tier signs, then I'm going to put her at the back of the line again and just invite her to mass events. If she does, she's like, oh my God, so great to see you. How was your week? Then I'm like, oh, my week is fine. Are you free Thursday or Friday? She'll be like, yo, I'm free Thursday. Awesome. That's generally how I would do it. But I just don't text them the next day.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Guys,
I've just seen. Go ahead.
I was just going to read the next one. Guys, when are you doing some Tinder reviews or infield reviews? I love your Tinder profile reviews out, especially the ones who were successful. Yeah, it's just, I'll be honest, they're so boring for me because it's like 99% of guys make the same 2 or 3 mistakes. And it's just like, I feel like it's just like, you could have like a mannequin of me and it's just like, make your photos look more natural. You are using bad lighting. Yeah, I understand they're beneficial for people. Maybe I will do them at some point. They're just like they're just not fun for me at all. Let's just put it this way. They're just so boring for me because it's just when you've done one, you've done them all. But yeah, I'll if you guys really want to, I'll do one at some point.
Maybe we can do a couple next week if you guys send them in. Yeah, we'll just do a bit of roasting. 10 minutes, we can handle it.
Yeah, sure. Sartain, can you give some idea of how many random girls slide into your DMs on daily average? Or slide into your DMs on daily, you average. Is it bad PR? So 2 questions. How many girls slide in your DMs on Insta? And is it bad PR to follow a lot of girls on Insta?
Let me see. So it is a tough question to ask. So because I invite like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 girls. So I have the Maxim party on February 8th. I'm hosting in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. When I'm there, I'm going to invite 5,000 or 6,000 girls. I have a DM setter, or I have a VA who's going to sit there and do the invites. It's going to take him several days because there's a limit to how many you can do per hour. I'm going to get probably close to 500 messages from women the next day.
How many
messages now down the road, would those girls just message me back randomly? I would say 2 to 4 a day is probably what I get from girls just randomly messaging me. But there usually is some level of exposure. But I'm not like some superstar. Girls aren't just going to randomly message me. It's usually because there's a party that they met me at, or I was sleeping with one of their friends, or something like that's going to happen first. And then they're going to message me. A lot of times it's like, hey, I want to come on your show. Hey, I'm coming to Vegas. Hey, I want to go see Deadmau5. Something like that. I'll just get messages. And a lot of times they're just excuses for them to just like meet me in person. But I would say maybe like more than 2 a day, maybe as many as like 5. I've had like 10 or 20, but on the weeks when I do the mass invites, then I'm going to have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of girls hit me up. And a lot of them aren't even responding to the invite. They're just like, hey, how are you? And stuff like that.
For the second part of that,
yeah.
I mean, I would just answer this from more of the normie, someone who has like a competent level IG as opposed to maybe like, Mike's more elite level IG. Girls, especially if you sleep with them or they're attracted to you, they will stalk who you're following. Like they will look and like they will start to question, why do you follow so many girls? Now, if you have a very natural reason for it, promoting whatever, then that's understood. But it is happen where they'll be like, like you have all these girls. Why are you following all these girls? You like trying to date all of them. So if there's a very natural reason, sure, follow all the girls. They're your friends. You've met them or whatnot. But don't be like following like OnlyFans girls and just just you know, what do you call it? Whatever, like just random girls.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think that's a generally good rule, but there's like if you look at the girls I follow, it's just all huge ass OnlyFans chicks. I don't really have any issues with it.
My man.
But yeah, I think that's a general rule of thumb. JT is correct.
I believe this is true. I'm still testing this. You can follow a bunch of girls, put them all in your close friends list. If they follow you back, then if they don't follow you back, just get rid of them or whatever. You can unfollow all of them. The ones that followed you back will, when you post something on your close friends list, they're still going to see it, even though you don't follow them anymore. And that's the close friends list has been in the last 2 years, the number one thing that has gotten me more girls than anything is that close friends list. Only girls.
I thought it was special being on your own.
Oh, Marcus, you are my I got Marcus in my close friends list.
In a circle, this is like fucked up. Now I find out every girl is on this list. This is damn exposed.
So on my close friends list, I only post things that would make my ex-girlfriend angry. That's the way you should think of it. Only things where it's like, because people are going to see that green circle and be like, oh shit, what's he posting now? What's he trying to get away with now that he doesn't want other people to see? On my regular posts, it's about 80-20 guys to girls. Obviously, I'm a performance coach. It's mostly men. But on my close friends list posts, it's probably 60% women, because that's all I let are women I find attractive. And then some of my guy friends are the only people who get to be on my close friends list. And those posts do incredibly well. And the other thing is when the girl sees the close friends list and then she pushes next, now she's watching your regular stories that are not close friends list stories. I'd recommend every guy in here, all the really attractive women you're following, put them on your close friends list. You can unfollow them later, especially if they follow you back. And then whenever you post on your close friends list, you're going to get 80, 90, 100 of like very attractive girls watching your close friends list story. And that green circle goes to the front of all the other stories because it's a close friends list. Absolute incredible cheat code. I hope Instagram never takes close friends list away. It's just really, really great. Especially, and then so for me, the rule is if a girl is very attracted to me, she's off the close friends list. I'm just going to have regular message with me. If a girl is not super attracted to me, like maybe it's a girl I haven't even met before, she goes on the close friends list, and the close friends list is always to show pre-selection and generate attraction. That's the only reason I have it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. There's a lot of guys that are super worried. They'll say like, but what if I'm doing some pre-selection stories, but what if like people from work see it? Or like this girl I just went on a date with, like she seemed a little bit more conservative. Like what if she sees it's going to ruin things, like blah, blah. That's awesome. Like you can just have a list of the girls that, fuck it, like who cares, right? Just throw up some crazy fucking pre-selection stories on there. Go to ham, and it doesn't matter because no one from work's on there, none of your family's on there, and then like girls that you are already like you're worried about maybe risking a little bit here. You don't need to have them on the list. So yeah, it's fucking great.
I'm gonna throw up my crazy husky stories on there. The dog stories that it's not for the average audience. Just me and Rhaegar, just like having like a fight. Marcus, how do you screen a woman in night game? I tend to run into time wasters, he says.
Oh man. I feel like people don't understand what a true time waster is. I think what happens is guys go into interactions and it tends to be pretty flatlined. They don't take any risk per se. They never move this forward. They never take the lead. And so what happens is, I've seen this even in my own students, where they're in a set for like 30 minutes, an hour. And at the end of that, they come back and I'm like, man, what happened over there? Oh, she's married. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, how did you not know that the entire time? And he's like, well, I tried to, make a bit more of a move after the hour and then I found it out. And he's like, yeah, what a time waster. And I'm like, no, motherfucker, you're the one wasting the time. You're the one having a platonic, friendly conversation and not trying to move this forward until you're an hour in. So the girl never was really a time waster. It's very rare to be at a club and a girl lead you on the entire time. Then be like, jokes, right? Like that's rarely going to happen. So it's like very, very rarely. So rather, when you get into an interaction, you need to be a little bit more flirtatious at the start. You need to start moving it forward. If you do that, the girl's going to quickly say like, wait, I've got a boyfriend, or she's going to quickly show she's got compliance or not. So you can do that within 5-10 minutes easy, and you're not going to be sitting there complaining about time wasters. And if she doesn't have that much value at the start, you're going to recognize that and you can try to build it, right? You can try the DHV, you can use some pre-selection, whatever it is. So yeah, the key isn't what you're doing. The key is that you need to start showing a little bit more intent, start making it a little bit more sexual a lot earlier, and then you won't run into time wasters.
Yeah.
I'd also say that it depends on what one's goal is that night. So I'm assuming that this is a guy that's going for like a one-night stand, right? trying to push it for that night. My go-to for that is, what are you doing after this? Right. I'm asking that question like 2 minutes in. That idea, is she going to stay at the club? Is she bouncing to another club? Where is she going? And if the attraction is there, start seeding, like, we're going to move to this bar, this club, right? And have her start moving with you, right? And that way you are pushing it forward, and in these different locations, you can start to escalate. But finding out that logistical information, you can start to screen, right? Just like ask that 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes in, once you have a bit of initial attraction.
I mean, I think that's a great question. I tend to wait a little bit longer on that one personally. I think like asking 2 minutes, a lot of signals you can say like
question just to figure out her logistics, right? Like early on,
my point is like
I tells you what you can do.
My point is, I've pulled a lot of girls that will say shit like, well, I'm going back to my friend's place, my friends are coming to mine, or we're going home. I guess if she says like, I've got work at like fucking 5 a.m. I'm leaving soon or something, that'd probably be good to know. But yeah, I typically personally I'd ask that question a little bit later, because that answer might change into, I think it might change from like, I'm going back to my friend's place to like, actually I don't know now, like we'll see. So yeah, but it's nice to, I guess, ask early, and then you can always ask later again.
Let's do go ahead.
Yeah. Who are you here with? Where are you from? What are you doing tonight? What are you doing tomorrow? Those are questions I ask. Those 4 logistical questions I ask somewhere near the middle or beginning or middle of the interaction. And then you say, oh, I'm with her. And then you find out that the girl you're talking to drove her. You might have an issue. There might be some logistical. For me, that's how I can tell if someone's a time waster. And then I'm going to seed going somewhere else. I also don't stay in nightclubs anywhere more than 45 minutes. So I'm going to seed going somewhere else, and she's going to come with me, which in case she's not a time waster, she's going to show compliance, or she's not, in which case, hey, I'll take care, whatever, exchange IGs and just keep it moving. But I'm not going to allow them time to waste for me.
Let's do like 1 or 2 more questions, and then we can wrap up. Thanks for answering this question, but you didn't address, are you against the idea? No, I'm not against the idea. If you will have an infield you want us to review, email it to me at playingwithfirechannel@gmail.com. If it's not too long, then yeah, we can potentially review it. Those will be much more fun than Tinder profile reviews, so I'm much more open to doing that stuff.
Hey, you know what we did the other day that was super fun? We had to turn the recording off for some people. We had everyone tell us what their 10 looked like. So it was 2 10s. A girl who was a 10 that they didn't know, and a girl who was a 10 that they did know. And it was crazy seeing how different some of these guys thought one girl, and then the other guys would rate the other girls. But the reason why we did it is so if I see a girl who's a certain type, I know to set him up with this guy versus this guy, just kind of help you be a wingman. Anyway, regardless, the whole thing was so entertaining. It was just like, we didn't want to stop doing it. We wanted to keep going for hours, but it's just it's a really, really fun thing to do.
I'm curious, was Lucario on that call?
Lucario was not on that call, and that would have been super fun if we had done that. This woman in a wheelchair be like, I will cooperate.
Yeah, exactly.
We got comment from Michael's best friend, Drake. I hear you, Marcus, but when I do that, I get wrecked so much faster. I have a boyfriend for most girls. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm getting black pilled for sure.
Okay, first of all, spell my name with a K, motherfucker. But yeah, no, it's all good, man. Like, basically what's happening here is...
Oh, shit, he misspelled your name, dude. That's why he's not getting results.
I'm broken. Basically what's happening is, obviously, you're not building any attraction here, okay? And so either 2 things happen. You sit in the set, and it remains boring, and the girl kind of just sits there and has this friendly conversation. Then at some point, you show intent and she bounces. Or you show intent earlier, and she lets you know right away that she's not attracted. So all that's happening here is you're delaying how long it takes the girl to tell you she's not into you just now. What that tells me is that we don't need to fix screening. We don't need to fix worrying about time wastes. We don't need to fix any of that. All we need to fix is your behaviors to make them a little bit more attractive. Now, this is like super generic. I don't know like who the fuck you are or like what your game looks like. But typically speaking, when I hear this from guys, it's just the big first impression things. So you need to look at like how you're dressed. You need to look at your grooming. You need to look at how you speak. Make sure it's slow and loud. You need to hold eye contact, and you have good body posture and language. These are the big things that are usually initially going to fix all of that like first attraction kind of problems there. And then you'll notice the minute you do show a little bit more intent, or you do take it a bit more sexual, you will get less lies like we have to go boyfriend type shit. And she'll start to say, not say this like exactly, but she'll start to show hey, I kind of attracted to you. Let's see where this goes. So yeah, you'll just need to fix up those things. Perhaps like next week you can jump on, you can ask questions around that. It'd be a little bit more specific about what you think some issues are there. But yeah, that's what you need to fix.
That could actually be something pretty fun we could do. We could take callers or whatever, like just allow people to jump in like one by one, answer their questions.
We could project audio from Twitter from X on here.
We don't need to make it that complex. I just drop the StreamYard link in the chat, and then people jump on one by one.
Got it. Okay.
Camera backstage to make sure they're not a dick flasher. But yeah, yeah.
Dude, it's happened to me several times. The dick flashers.
Really? They're relentless.
I'll be on IG, and I'll be doing an IG live and have some super hot girl with me. And then there's like, hey, and then the guy will request to do video. I made the mistake like twice, and I'm never doing it again. And it's always some dude in India just jerking off. Like,
do you notice how they always have a tiny dick? Like it's always
tiny penis, and they're just jerking off. And I'm like, bro. And then my Instagram suspended for 30 days for something that clearly wasn't my fault, bro. And it's like that. At least on Zoom, I can see the mini of a picture first, so I have to see if their face is up there first. But like on Instagram, I can't see their camera before I let them on.
Yeah.
All right, no dick show next week then. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, let's do this last question. Assuming the goal is to actually pick up girls and get good results, is it better to go out solo or with guys who all have average game? Guys tend to gatekeep their social circles. What do you guys think?
I think it would just be, in this case, solo. Like, that is sort of like how I started getting good, because I was trying to audition back in the Project Hollywood days, like trying to find wingmen, and I found like I was better than 99% of them. And these guys would start to sort of like latch on to me for me to help them. And I was still learning the ropes, so to speak. And so in this case, better to go out by yourself, because sometimes the guys that have no game, they don't have an understanding of sort of like our written or unwritten rules. And they can intentionally or unintentionally just cock block you, or they see, they become jealous as you get more successful. Now, sometimes you got a really good friend and you both are sort of on the same wavelength. Okay, sure. Introduce them, talk about like maybe what your goals, what you're trying to do. But yeah, for some of the guys who are like very civilian normies about it, and the idea of picking up women tends to be very old school. It's like either you've got it or you don't. If you try, you're some sort of try hard, you're pushing boundaries, or you're doing something wrong. I would say go solo in that regards, because sometimes like these average guys are just going to hold you back.
I think if the guys are on board with a general idea of doing pickup, I would probably go out with them over solo. But I just personally hate going out by myself. I like having my friends with me. But yeah.
So in this case, like I'm just reading the intent where he says guys tend to gatekeep their social circle. So, like underlying that, it appears that his friends aren't willing.
I mean, dude, it just depends. Like when you go out with your wings or when you go out by yourself, like what are you enjoying more? What are you getting better results for? Because some guys, you can go out with really shitty wings in terms of game, but they're super motivating. It's like, let's go out awesome. They like, they send you into a set. It's cool. You don't actually need to be winging with them and have them like right there next to you, fucking up your set. Or you might have situations where you go out with your wings and then you just sit there and drink all night and talk about game and never open. Or you go out by yourself and you're so fucking nervous because you have no one there to back you up that you never go out and approach. So whatever, like X, Z, whoever you are, just like, are you getting better results when you go out by yourself or with wings, and then just keep doing whatever's working for you.
All right, cool. Fun stream. I guess I'll just do, because JT, you're new to this thing. So where can people find you?
ABCsofattraction.com, or we got a free YouTube channel, ABCsofattraction.com as well.
Cool. Let's just do a general shout out. Michael, where can people find you?
On Instagram, just go to Michael Sartain, or you can go on YouTube for Michael Sartain, or just go to moamentoring.com.
Marcus?
Yeah, you can go flash your dick over at Ultimate Man Project. You just join our YouTube there. So.
They're very
I did. They gave me a discount. All of a sudden I get a promo code as soon as I flash my dick. It was incredible.
That's only if you're brown.
That's the rule. That's the motto they live by. All right, cool, guys. But yeah, thanks, everyone. Thanks for the chat. We'll see you guys next Monday. Take it easy, guys.
All right, cheers.
Later.
Take care, guys.